every entrepreneur really needs to ask himself, are you doing this because you have to be this person who exited a company or had some sort of specific success, or are you just doing it because this is what you enjoy? And if the answer is the former, then don't start a company. That's the first thing I would say.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started.
20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today I am with a friend, Ron Reiter, the co-founder and CTO of Sentra, an experienced entrepreneur who sold his company to Oracle in 2016 and went on to invest in over a dozen new startups. After serving in Unit 8200, Ron spent 15 years in various managing positions in data engineering, cybersecurity, and cloud infrastructure.
Can't believe we're already 40 people at Sentra. Obviously, when people are going to hear this, you're all going to be like 60 or 70. And so it's not even going to be a relevant data point. But really, your journey as an entrepreneur is, really it's like this entrepreneurial dream that I think so many of us are looking at, especially here in Startup Nation. The people that you're doing this with, Yoav and Asaf, are incredible entrepreneurs. And so I'm very excited to hear about your perspective on your own tech leadership, a geek by training, if you will, and a serial entrepreneur. So Ron, if you look back really, first of all, 30,000 feet in the air, Ron Reiter, who is Ron Reiter? How do you think about yourself?
That's an interesting question. I think, if you ask someone, across the street, who is Ron Reiter, I think you would find that I'm very central in the Israeli ecosystem of startups. A lot of people know me usually with a good reference as someone who is fun to work with and strong technically. That's I think what people usually think about me. The reason I think, or the way I got to it is mostly because I care about relationships. I meet a lot of people. I mingle a lot. I create a lot of forums and a lot of groups. For example, one of the things I did is to create a group called YACV that has almost 6,000 members of the military intelligence alumni. It's kind of a group that helps people find jobs and send CVs to friends and refer people to one another. I was kind of always trying to be kind of central because I think it's a mental thing I have. It's very important for me for people to like me, work hard in this division of making sure that people like me. I think that's kind of who I am.
Why is it important in your side of the arena? I mean, why is this an important part of sort of your success as a tech leader? You're putting relationships as a big cornerstone. Why is that?
Well, there's the official answer and the non-official answer. I think the formal answer. The formal answer is that I think entrepreneurship is very much based on relationships and connections, and managing people is also about relationships and being good with people. Leadership is all about understanding people, empathizing people, respecting people, being good with building relationships. And I think if you want to be a good entrepreneur, you have to make sure that people like you and like working for you. That's why it's important as an entrepreneur. As a developer, it's really not important. But it is important for entrepreneurs or managers and so forth. But the non-formal answer, I would say that it's just some sort of mental issue I have. I don't think it's something that you have to have. no one, I think it comes with a big toll. If you care too much about what people think about you, it's not always a good life. It's very hard to
Right.
manage, your life thinking all the time, what will people think about me, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy, your leadership philosophy. So you're serial entrepreneur, you're going about this journey now also with other people who have quite extensive experience in managing talented people. Who is Ron? Not necessarily just, a person who cares about relationships, but as a leader. What is your leadership style like?
So I lead by example, and I manage people by empathizing with them. Really, I see what they want to achieve, and I tell them basically, listen, I can help you become what you want. Just follow me and trust me. I know what you need. This is kind of the message that I try to lead with. As an engineering manager, it's all about, career development, understanding, what are the goals, the self-actualization goals of the engineer. Usually, there are some, and that's kind of how I manage, in that sense. I think in terms of, being an entrepreneur in general, it's, I see myself as someone who people, want to be, right? So a lot of a lot of people who work for me are kind of, one of the promises I tell them, I talk about is, if you want to be successful and a successful entrepreneur, this is what you need to do. You have to, come and work for me and see, how it's being done, how startups are being done. That worked for like 50 people, right? After 50 people, what you need to do is you need to build a company, actually build a company. And then it becomes, a game of culture. You have to build something, a culture of people that people just want to join in, regardless of my direct leadership. That's, I would say, that, my 2 cents.
And so tell me a little bit about your own internal balance. Ron, the engineer, Ron, the CTO, and Ron, the leader who's trying to help people. How do you bridge those gaps? Because I'm sure that also in the day to day, especially as you're growing very quickly and you have experience also in Oracle and other companies, how are you balancing those different personas in the day to day? It doesn't sound like a trivial task.
Correct. Because first of all, personally, I actually really like to code. It's one of the things that I'm really enjoy. I really enjoy coding. So I have a constant dilemma, right, between looking inbound and seeing what's going on in the technology and focusing inbound versus going outbound and looking outwards and seeing people, the customers. The media, understanding, how people see us as a company if they want to work for us and so forth. And so, I'm balancing between these two. I think, it's very hard for me because I'm kind of an introvert, which means I kind of want to focus on the inside and make sure, just focus on building something, right? I'm a builder. But what I basically I taught myself to do is I would basically I look at the company as to what I'm trying to build, right? So if you look at the company as something you're trying to build, then you're basically you have to understand the dynamics of the world and understand that to build a great company you have to build a great culture and company is all about people, right? So so I really focus on that side. I would say 30% of my time I give to actually, working on technology, focusing on the product and everything. And 30% is more about like building the company in terms of the leadership, the culture, the management, just overall things. And the other, 30-40% is things that I actually enjoy less, which is to go outwards, right, and advocate for my company. And I'm the first sales engineer, and I get investors to invest in me, and just everything that it relates to talking to people. As an introvert, it's not it's not my number one thing that I enjoy doing, but I've learned to be good at it. So sometimes it seems like I enjoy it, but it's not that. It's not what if I would be born tomorrow as a new person, I would just go and be a developer, right?
Amazing. I love that. Tell me a little bit about Sentra and what you're doing. It's a very, very cool company.
Thank you. So Sentra is the data security company. We're building something called the DSPM, data security posture management solution. Basically what Sentra does, in a nutshell, is it connects to your public cloud account and SaaS and PaaS, for example, Snowflake, understands where all your sensitive data is automatically using an agentless approach. So basically it discovers all the data, classifies it and finds the sensitive data using classification, and then understands the security posture of it. And for example, is the database secure that's holding sensitive data? Is the data being copied? Is it being accessed? Is it moving somewhere that's not supposed to move? And then we generate alert based on policies that basically tell you that your data is safe and secure in your public cloud. We raised $23 million last year from Bessemer Ventures and Oren Zev. And you mentioned it briefly, but I have three co-founders. Yoav Regev, who is the CEO, he was the head of the cybersecurity department in Unit 8200, where I also served in the army. You know him; he was also your manager, and he managed about roughly 1,000 people. And along with him is Asaf Kochan. He was the head of Unit 8200, which is about 10,000 people. And then Yair Cohen, he's the VP product, and he was product manager at a few companies such as Datadog and Microsoft Azure Information Protection, and the CASB, which was Adalom. So basically, 4 co-founders, 40 people. We're already with paid customers, growing fast.
Yep. The dream. Take me back to those first days. You're just starting out. What are some of the underlying understandings that you have about the world as you're thinking about the problem space, the vision of what Sentra is representing, as an opportunity for the world? What are those underlying understandings that you're bringing to the table that, the average person may not be thinking about as we go in our day to day?
So, in general, what I kind of understood is, I want to build a big company. I want to build a company that solves a big issue, and a big problem, and I want to be beneficial for the world. I've noticed that there has been this huge gap in the world in terms of data, that people don't understand enough how much the problem of securing your data is going to be huge in the next decade. Because what happens is that the world is becoming more and more data centric. If software was the king in 2010, now data is the new king. Everyone, monetizing on data, understanding that data is going to be the new oil, and they're starting to use it. And this usage is basically is causing a security issue, because the usage of data is unlike infrastructure or something like that. Is about copying data to places. So you start copying the data, and then you want more people to access the data because you want more people to use the data, so your company can to grow faster and be worth more, right? So it's that kind of balance between using the data kind of interferes with the need to secure the data, right? Because if you want to secure it, you have to make sure that it doesn't get replicated and that no one is touching sensitive data which isn't authorized. And there's this huge and growing gap in this world that nothing can actually take care of. There's no product today that can automatically understand where your sensitive data is and monitor the functions that actually cause potential data leaks in real time to understand what is going on with your data security, right? So that's kind of what we understood. We started with a problem. And slowly, we understood, okay, where's the problem right now? Where do we need to focus? We decided to focus on the public cloud infrastructure first before we go into the SaaS applications. But, there's a big issue with SaaS applications, data being copied to SaaS applications as well. But overall, the problem was clear. People in the enterprises do not know where their sensitive data is. and they understand that their engineers have access to the data. They don't want to take that access to the data. They want to make sure that they keep running with the tools that they're using, and they don't want to constrain them, but they do want to make sure that they're doing their job correctly. And if there's something wrong, that they can fix it and know about it as soon as possible. That's kind of where I came from.
And it kind of sounds like this is the type of problem that gets exacerbated over time. It grows exponentially with the emergence of cloud technology over the last few years, and these different data lakes and the microservices, and how you have different players and different stakeholders that are injecting sensitive data on their own consent, because we believe in developer autonomy and we want to move fast and break things. But then obviously we're creating a world where data lives everywhere, and our ability to maintain the integrity of where it is slacking, right?
Exactly. That is exactly the problem you're solving. You pitched it very accurately. The amount of data is growing exponentially. The amount of people who are accessing data is growing exponentially. The data right now, most of the enterprises don't even have a significant amount of data footprint on the cloud. Even if they have cloud, they haven't even begun to utilize it. Snowflake is a good example of a driver of that. But there's a ton of SaaS services that also drive that as well. Everything, the cloud world, including IaaS, and SaaS, is just the beginning. We're just at the beginning of this data explosion.
Incredible. Going into this journey, after a few years at Oracle, serial entrepreneur, sold your previous startup, how did you approach this journey differently? What did you learn from your previous experiences that coming in here, you're saying, these are some things that the new Ron is taking with him?
Yeah. So obviously a lot of things. I think the most significant by far thing that I took from the previous startup is the way that I approach entrepreneurship. Previously in my first startup, I was only thinking about succeeding. I was thinking about selling my company and nothing else. And that's called a goal-oriented approach. That is not a very healthy way to live your life, because every time it's kind of going on a roller coaster, because every time something that makes you feel like you're approaching your goal gives you a high. But every time something happens that, makes you understand or feel that you're going to get away from the goal, you immediately get depressed from it. And anxious, it led me to really bad places. I really felt like I lost a few years of my life because of that. But eventually I was lucky enough to sell my company, and it was, a great outcome for me and for my founders and my co-founders and the team. But what I learned is that this is the wrong approach. What you need to do is you need to wake up every morning and ask yourself, are you enjoying your life? Do you go to work happy? Are you doing what you enjoy? And if the answer is no, then you need to change something, right? So this is why I started the company, because I realized that what I enjoy is the act of starting a company. I don't care if what really happens mentally wise, right? I don't care if my company crashes for some reason in a year from now, right? It's not something that defines me. I don't feel that, make me less of a person if that happens. And that realization is really what I took with me. And I think that every entrepreneur really needs to ask himself, are you doing this because you have to be this person who exited a company or had some sort of specific success, or are you just doing it because this is what you enjoy? And if the answer is the former, then don't start a company. That's the first thing I would say. But I did learn a lot of things. I think that the second most important thing is about relationships and your co-founding team. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs go into a relationship that they don't really fully realize and understand what they're going into, the extent of their job, as well as the extent of the relationship that they're building with their co-founders. Really getting into a company and getting, co-founders is not less than marriage. Really, it's legally and conceptually, it's kind of the same. You have to really, really, really love and appreciate and respect and admire the person that you are working with. You have to, Regev said it very interesting. He said that if you see the person calling you and it makes you happy, when you see that name, then it's a good, that this is your co-founder. if you see the name, if you see him calling and you have this feeling that you don't want to answer him right now, that's not your guy, right? So make sure that you want to marry your co-founders before you start a company. And of course, I could say 1,000 more things, but
I can only imagine. And I just love how intentional you are about this whole thing. And it sounds like you've done a lot of work, internally also to understand what type of leader you want to be. And you're clearly defining your priorities from, working with the people that you're developing. And you as a tech leader, you as an engineer, the different stages on your entrepreneurial career, and obviously the conviction that you have with Sentra and not just the interesting problem space, but the way that you're approaching the people that you work with, choosing the right co-founders. And so I'm taking with me from this conversation a lot of the great advice, but at the same time, the intentionality that you bring to a lot of these questions that you're raising here. Which obviously every person will have a different answer, but at least the act of asking them sounds quite important. So Ron, thank you so much. Best of luck with Sentra. I really appreciate your time. I'll let you go back to running an amazing company and stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.